Before you zip up that suitcase and head to the airport, stop. The airline carry-on rules you thought you knew? They've changed. In 2025, airlines and TSA are cracking down harder than ever, and travelers are getting hit with surprise fees, delays, and even confiscated items, some as harmless as a power bank or even a bottle of lotion. So, presenting to you, airline carry-on rules of 2025 that you need to know. Stick around, this could save your trip. Imagine getting to the airport, cruising through check-in, only to have security pull you aside. All because of something as random as a tent stake or a jar of peanut butter. Sounds ridiculous, right? But in 2025, the list of banned carry-on items is weirder than ever, and constantly changing. Before your next flight turns into a travel nightmare, let's uncover the surprising rules you've probably never heard of. We all rely on power banks. Whether it's charging your phone during a layover or keeping your tablet alive for that in-flight movie binge, they've become travel essentials. After all, who wants to be stuck with a dead device when you need it the most? But here's the problem. Not all power banks are flight safe. In fact, after a serious incident on January 28, 2025, aboard an Air Busan flight, where a legally permitted power bank caught fire, triggering an emergency evacuation, aviation authorities are no longer taking chances. These incidents have revealed just how risky power banks on flights can be, especially when they exceed certain power limits. Power banks over 160 watt-hours, WH, or 32,000 milliamp hours, RMAH, are completely banned from both carry-on and checked luggage. This is the upper limit beyond which these devices pose an increased risk of overheating and fire, and airlines are unwilling to take the chance, regardless of how legal these power banks may seem in other contexts. Power banks between 100 watt-hours and 160 watt-hours, approximate. 20,000 to 32,000 milliamp hours are only allowed in carry-on luggage. However, they still need airline approval. This means you may be required to get confirmation from your airline before traveling, as some carriers may have additional restrictions in place for specific models or brands. The idea here is that if something goes wrong, crew members have better access to manage the device in the cabin, rather than in the cargo hold. Power banks under 100 watt-hours are generally safe to bring in your carry-on. However, these devices are never allowed in checked baggage. The logic behind this is simple. When a fire breaks out in the cargo hold, it's much harder to manage due to the isolation and lack of resources. While fires in the cabin can be addressed immediately with fire extinguishers and a trained crew, a fire down below is a different matter entirely. The risks are simply too high for airlines to ignore, making it imperative to check your power bank's specifications before flying. So, what does this mean for you as a traveler? It's crucial to always verify the wattage and milliamp hour ratings on your power bank before packing it in your carry-on. Make sure it's in line with airline regulations and always carry it with you, never in your checked luggage. Got one of those futuristic smart suitcases that charges your phone, tracks your location, or even weighs itself? Pretty cool, right? But there's a catch. Many of these bags now contain non-removable lithium batteries, which is causing some issues for travelers. While these smart suitcases have become a popular gadget for tech-savvy travelers, in 2025, many airlines have completely banned smart luggage that cannot have its battery removed. This is mainly due to the same concerns about fire hazards that prompted changes to power bank rules. If a lithium battery inside a smart suitcase begins to overheat or malfunction, it can pose serious dangers, particularly in the hold of a plane, where the crew is not immediately able to address the issue. Before heading to the airport, make sure to double-check your suitcase. If you can't easily detach the battery, you'll likely be told to either check your bag or leave it behind entirely. If the battery can't be removed and your airline doesn't allow non-removable battery bags, you may find yourself scrambling for alternatives. No one wants to start their trip by buying a replacement suitcase at the airport gift shop, or worse, having to leave your luggage behind and go through the trouble of getting a refund or replacement later. Why is this such a big deal? When lithium-ion batteries overheat, they can catch fire, and the confined spaces of an aircraft make that a real safety hazard. Even though these bags are designed to make our travels more convenient, airlines are focusing more on the safety of passengers than on the convenience of cool gadgets. If you're not sure about the regulations for your specific smart luggage, it's a good idea to contact the airline ahead of time. Some airlines may allow you to bring these bags if you remove the battery before your flight, while others may have outright restrictions regardless of the bag's design. Remember the 3-1-1 liquid rule that's been around since 2006? Well, depending on where you're flying, that rule is either getting more relaxed or making a dramatic comeback. Let's start with the UK. In early 2024, some British airports began rolling out new scanners that could screen larger liquid containers. It looked like the end of the 100 milliliter limit, until mid-2024, when 6 airports, including London City, Aberdeen, and Newcastle, reinstated the 3-1-1 rule due to ongoing security concerns. So in 2025, the situation is patchy. You might be wondering, why can't I bring a water bottle on the plane? It's just water. Well, here's the real reason. In August 2006, British authorities uncovered a plot where terrorists intended to disguise liquid explosives in soft drink bottles and detonate them on flights to the US and Canada. As a result, the UK and US implemented an emergency ban on all liquids in carry-ons. It was eventually adjusted to allow 100 milliliter containers in a clear plastic bag, what we now call the 3-1-1 rule. And even though technology has advanced since then, the risk remains. Security still needs to manually screen liquids, and bigger containers are harder to check thoroughly. So, next time you're forced to toss out your drink before security, remember, it's not just bureaucracy. It's based on a real threat that nearly changed aviation history. Flying with a budget airline in Europe this year? Be warned, your carry-on may no longer be free. Airlines like Ryanair, EasyJet, and Wizz Air, which are notorious for offering ultra-low fares, are tightening the rules on carry-on baggage in 2025. What used to be included in the price of your ticket, your carry-on luggage, has now become a potential source of added fees and frustrations. If you've ever flown with these airlines before, you may already know the drill. But this year, there are even stricter guidelines in place, making it crucial to keep an eye on what you bring on board. What qualifies as a free personal item has shrunk. Bags that were acceptable last year may now trigger extra charges, sometimes as much as 20 to 50 euros per flight. That's not a small change, especially when you consider how quickly these fees can add up over multiple flights or family trips. Some key changes. The once standard 10-kilogram carry-on that many passengers could count on is now often considered an additional paid item. Instead of being free, it now often costs an extra 20 to 50 euros per flight, depending on the airline and route. This is different from the older system where you were often allowed a small carry-on as part of the base fare. Now, only tiny backpacks, laptop bags, or small notes are considered free personal items under the new rules. That means you'll need to be extra cautious when packing. A regular-sized backpack, even if it's under the previous weight limits, might not be accepted anymore without triggering a fee. In some cases, passengers have reported being caught off guard when they arrive at the gate, with their luggage being weighed and subject to additional charges for exceeding size limits, even if their bag had previously been acceptable on other flights. This inconsistency between flight crews and their baggage policies only adds to the confusion. So, what should you do to avoid extra charges? To avoid unexpected baggage fees, the best advice is simple. Double-check size and weight limits before flying. Airlines have very specific dimensions for what counts as a free personal item, and they can vary slightly from one carrier to another. Be sure to measure your bag before you leave for the airport to avoid any surprises at the gate. Many airlines have a luggage calculator tool on their websites to help you determine if your bag is within their parameters. And if you find that you need more space or you've overpacked, it's usually cheaper to add baggage during booking rather than at the airport or gate. If you decide to pay for an additional bag or larger carry-on at the last minute, the cost will often be much higher. Planning ahead can save you a significant amount of money, and it gives you time to reconsider your packing strategy if you've overdone it with souvenirs or gifts. To make your trip smoother, some passengers even recommend using soft-sided bags, as they are often more flexible when it comes to fitting into the airline's carry-on size restrictions. Soft-sided bags can compress a little more, which means you can sometimes squeeze in a bit more without triggering fees. Before we move on to the next part, don't forget to hit like and subscribe because you won't want to miss what comes next. Now, let's move on to the fun part, because what's more fun than realizing a bag of flour might get you flagged at security? Yep, some totally normal items are now banned or restricted on flights, and not knowing about them can lead to awkward, time-consuming delays. Let's go through the most surprising ones. Thermometers. Specifically, mercury thermometers. If yours is glass and filled with silver liquid, it's a big no. Mercury is toxic and can cause hazmat-level emergencies if broken. Stick with digital or alcohol-based thermometers instead. Tent poles and stakes. Headed on a camping trip? Don't bring your tent stakes in your carry-on. TSA and other airport security teams consider them potential weapons, sharp, pointy, and dangerous. These need to go in checked luggage. Multi-tools and box cutters. Even tiny tools can trigger a bag search. Multi-tools are only allowed if they have no blades, and even then, some airlines don't allow them at all. Scissors? They're okay if the blades are under 4 inches, 10 centimeters. Anything larger will get taken. Toy weapons. That bright orange toy gun you packed for your kid? Nope. If it even remotely resembles a weapon, it's getting confiscated. That includes foam swords, plastic daggers, and anything security might mistake for real. Sports equipment. Planning a game while traveling? Make sure to check your gear. Baseball bats, hockey sticks, lacrosse sticks, and golf clubs are all banned from carry-ons. They're seen as potential blunt force weapons, even if you just want to perfect your swing mid-layover. Powders over 12 ounces, 350 milliliters. This one's tricky. Powders, like baby formula, protein powder, bath salts, or baking ingredients, can be flagged if the container exceeds 12 ounces. Security staff might suspect you're trying to hide prohibited substances. Exceptions include baby formula, medications, cremated remains. But even then, they'll likely undergo extra screening. Large tools or electronics. Bringing a hammer, drill, or toaster in your carry-on? Think again. TSA rules specifically prohibit heavy, blunt tools and oversized electronics in cabin baggage. Put them in your checked bag or leave them at home. If you're flying Air Canada in basic economy, You'll want to pay close attention to their updated baggage policies, which now come with some sneaky fees that could significantly impact your budget travel plans. Starting January 3rd, 2025, only one small personal item, such as a purse or laptop bag, is included for free with a basic economy ticket. That means you're not getting the standard carry-on bag included with your fare unless you want to pay an additional $35 for it. Your carry-on suitcase? That will set you back $35 extra, no matter what size it is. If you're traveling with more than one bag, you can expect to pay $65 plus per additional item. These charges can be frustrating, especially if you thought you could pack your carry-on without paying extra. The worst part? Many passengers only find out about these fees when they check in online or arrive at the airport, leaving them with no choice but to pay the extra charges or risk being left with no bag to carry their essentials. But the baggage fees aren't the only added cost for Air Canada's basic economy passengers. Seat selection is no longer free either. As of January 21st, 2025, basic economy passengers will be assigned seats at random, unless they choose to pay to select their preferred seat. And if you enjoy the luxury of choosing a window or aisle seat, you'll have to pay extra for that privilege. For those traveling in pairs, this can be particularly frustrating as you could end up with two seats far apart from each other. So unless you're a fan of the middle seat between two strangers, budget accordingly. In many cases, travelers have reported that the added baggage fees and seat selection costs end up making the budget fare less of a bargain than it initially seemed. When you start factoring in the extra costs for baggage and seating, it's possible that you could have booked a standard economy ticket on another airline for just a little more. To avoid the surprise fees on your Air Canada flight, it's best to review all baggage policies and seat selection rules before you book your flight. If you anticipate needing more than just a small personal item, or prefer not to risk a random seat assignment, you may want to consider upgrading to a higher class of service. That way, you can have more control over your comfort and packing situation without getting hit with unexpected fees at the last minute. Here's how to avoid a security nightmare in 2025. Check airline policies before you fly. Don't assume yesterday's rules still apply. Check for size limits, weight restrictions, and any new fees, especially if you're flying basic economy. Keep your power bank in your carry-on. Never put it in checked luggage, and if it's over 100 watt-hours, contact your airline before flying. Review the 311 rule, even in the UK. Airport policies vary by location. Stick to 100 milliliter containers unless you're 100% sure the airport allows more. Scan your bag for hidden weapons. Tent stakes, multi-tools, and sports gear might seem harmless, but TSA sees them differently. Pack light, pack smart, especially on budget airlines. Downsizing your suitcase could save you €50 per flight. Airline rules are evolving fast, and 2025 is proof that what was fine yesterday might be banned tomorrow. From carry-on size changes to surprising prohibited items, travelers need to be more informed than ever. Want to breeze through security without becoming the next viral airport disaster story? Double-check the latest airline and airport restrictions, pack thoughtfully, and always err on the side of caution. Because nothing ruins a trip faster than hearing those dreaded words. "Excuse me, we need to search your bag."